Hi everybody, it's Mike Taggert from Attainable Flies. Now, one of the flies that I came up with for myself, I call it the shaggy zebra. Now, if you're watching this video, you linked into my YouTube page on my website, and thank you very much for that. Please make sure you hit subscribe and join our mailing list so that you can learn more about some of the flies that I tie. Now, this is one that's fun to tie. It's a little more than what you would find for just a zebra midge. The fish really like this one. So this is a very, very simplistic fly, easy to tie, and a little fancier than just a plain zebra midge. So with that said, yes, this is my tying stand. That's my vise. I tie on a Norvise, for those who don't know. Now, reposition the camera here. That's excellent. Now, the first thing we're going to use is, you're going to think I'm crazy, but I tied this on clink and hammer hooks. It's something about the shape. It just makes this fly look really, really good. The next thing we're going to use is some good old-fashioned uni thread. I don't know if you can see that. Well, let me roll it around. That's an 8/0 uni. So that's really good. So it's about a 72 denier. I'll roll that around so you can see it. Green label. Then I'm going to use a little bit of black Natured Spirit Hare's dubbing. We're going to use there it is. This is some UTC Ultra Wire in brassy size silver. Okay. And then we're going to use some CDC. This is a nice gray CDC that we're going to be using. I like it. It's a good color for this, and I hope you like it as well. Now, I'm also going to be putting a tungsten bead on my hook. So bear with me for just a second. I want to show this to everybody as I do this hook, how I do this. There's a lot of fun ways you can get a hook and a bead together here, but this works for me. For those who don't know, I suffer from an essential tremor, so holding on to little beads like this is really hard. So I use my jeweler's pliers. And when you put your bead on, you want the little tiny hole on the hook point. You can see my tremor is giving me a fit tonight. Give me a second. There we go. And just put it right on there, let it drop. Now that's got your hook, your bead on your hook. Give it a little bend there. Flip it over so that you can get it on there. Now you'll notice I've got my hook eye pointing down. That's going to hold the bead right here while I'm getting it going here. I can always adjust it as I go along if I need to. So I'm going to take out my bobbin, long bobbin. There we go. And we're going to catch that thread in, a nice jam knot. And when I started that, you notice I kept the thread there for a few seconds. That's so that I could get a little bit of a thread ball going at the bead eye. I'm going to bring this down. This is just covering wraps right here. I'm going to get all the way down to right at the bend right there. You see how far down I'm going on that? Remember, this is a little midge, so we don't want to go too crazy with this. Now, for my small midges like this, I don't put a tail on them. Only because I think that if you're going to worry about a tail that's something that small, you're getting a little too crazy on it. This fish is just fine without it. Okay, so now I've got a nice thread bed there. Now, I didn't spin my thread or get it flattened because I want some bumps to that thread. I want that thread to be able to hold on to the stuff that I'm going to put on here. Next, I'm going to snip off a little piece of my wire here. And I have just some simple scissors that I've had for years. I use these for my wire. I don't use wire pliers or anything like that, but I do use a pair of scissors that I'm not going to lose any sleep on if by chance they do get dulled. Okay. We're going to tie that wire in, kind of keep it tucked underneath. There you go. Bring that up. Now we've got our wire on there. We've got our thread started. Now we're going to build a bit of a taper. So I'm going to bring this thread all the way to the end. Okay. Then I'm going to come all the way back up. Now, I said in some of my other videos that I like to go 3/4, especially on flies with the long profile. So I'm going to go back about 3/4 of the way. Then I'm going to come back up. Then I'm going to come down halfway. Then I'm going to come back. Then I'm going to come 1/4 of the way. And then I'm going to come back. And you can see that we've got an ever so slight taper started here. And then I'm going to go back over that 1/4 mark one more time, just to make sure it's a little more pronounced. I'm going to fill in that little dent right there where the wire ended. If you want, you can certainly bring your wire all the way up so you can get a more consistent arc. I find it's not absolutely necessary. Now that I've got this little bit of a taper working, I'm going to come all the way down. And, you know, some of you may look at this and say, well, that's not really a big taper. No, it isn't. It is a very fine taper. And when you look at the size of these bugs, this is the size of the bug that you're going to see in the water. So you don't want to get too far from that. Next up, I'm going to get my dubbing out. And this is a hair smash dubbing. So it's got some guard hair to it. And we want that guard hair in there. And you'll see why in a minute. When you're selecting your dubbing, you want something that's going to give you the look that you really truly want. Now, I'm going to reach over here and grab, this is J. Stockard's Touch Dub Wax. I kind of like this because it's soft, and I do have cobbler's wax here that I use for my dry flies, but when I'm doing a nice dubbing like this, I kind of like the softer wax. Certainly use whatever wax you want. You just want a thin, tiny little noodle on there. Okay. It's important not to get too much on here. You can always add more, but you can't always take it out. Now, you'll see as that dubbing is going on and going around, that it's getting some of that fiber, that guard hair is really pronounced. And you can see that taper is really there. This is where that taper is going to be pronounced. There, that's a pretty good amount right there. Now, you'll notice, if you can see it, I stopped a good distance away from the bead. this is going to be important here in just a couple seconds. Now I'm going to take this wire, I'm going to come under and go the opposite direction that I wrapped. I'm going to bring this around. And I'm going to get some really nice ribs going here. Nice, steady, even as I go around. I'm going to bring that up. And this is a size 14 hook, so I'm not sure I'm going to get 5. I might get 4 at the end here. Okay, so we're going to come across here. A couple of wraps in the front, a couple of wraps in the back. Now, I'm going to, as Al Beatty would say, I'm going to worry it off, or I'm going to helicopter it off, however you like it. I'm going to adjust that one little rib right there. It's just a little not to my liking, but there we go. Okay. So this is where we are right now. At this point, we're going to take 2 of these CDC feathers. I'm going to fluff or pull some of that fluff off. And I'm going to get another one out here. Whoops, got some gold tinsel floating around here. And I'm going to get about the same size fluff taken off of there. Now I use 2 because one just does not seem to be quite enough. So I'm putting 2 on here, and I'm going to get them to lay together. So the curve is going to be the same. So this is what you're looking at here. And I'm going to lay this curve down across the hook. I'm going to go ahead and tie my rachis in right there. I'm just going to a couple of quick loops there just to kind of hold it in place. Then I'm going to put a couple of tightening wraps on it just to get that tied down good and tight right there. And we're going to hold that CDC up on top of the hook there. Don't let it torque away. We need it. Okay, now we're going to trim this little bit of rachis off here. There we go. Now, believe it or not, at this point you could fish that and the fish would go for it thinking it's a more mature fly than what we've got here. Okay, so we've got some nice CDC feather material. This is going to fold over and become a wing case here in just a minute. Now at this point, I'm going to take a good pinch of this dubbing and put some more wax on there. All right. And I'm going to get that on there. And you see I'm getting this. This is going to be kind of fat. And I want it that way because I'm going to use this to build up a thorax. I'm doing this out of black. And you see how big of a thorax I'm putting on there. So I'm putting a lot of dubbing on that. So now I've gone from a tiny little fly to a big thorax with the bead head on it. Okay. Now at this point, you want to use a brush. I'm going to use a steel brush. You can use a toothbrush, or for years I used a popsicle stick with a little piece of Velcro glued on it. I'm going to pull some of that down. I want to get that downward pull before I fold my wing over. There we go. We're going to clean that up a little bit more in just a minute. Now I'm just going to pull this CDC up over the top, pinch it in place, throw a loop over it, and you can see I've got my wing case started right there. Now I'm going to pull this backwards. I'm going to put a couple of thread wraps right there. Now the reason you put the thread wraps is so it does that. Now I'm not going to trim this. This is a very buoyant fly, and this will This is made to float subsurface, but higher in the water column. Okay. Now to finish this fly, I'm going to come in with my whip finisher. And it takes a little bit not to get your CDC all wrapped up in there, but you can do it if you just hang in there. Just bring that around, get a good 3 or 4 turn on that, and then you trim your thread off. Now, last but not least, we're going to come back in here, a little bit of Velcro. You see I'm going to pull those legs down, those guard hairs, and that's going to act kind of like little legs sticking out underneath your fly. And there you go. That is my shaggy zebra. I hope you like it. I hope you get to try it. Please email me. Let me know. Comment on the YouTube and let me know what you think of it. Okay? Thanks a lot. I hope you enjoy it. And remember, it's an attainablefly.com.